Okay guys, in this video we're taking another look at Cardano, and there's some fantastic news we're going to get across the line first, and then we're going to get into what's going on with the price action of ADA as well. Guys, as we get into this, if you find it useful and informative, then do go ahead and give me a like. I really appreciate that. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, tap on the bell, hit on all notifications, and you won't miss another Cardano update. Right, with that said done, let's jump down and get into what's been going on most recently. So we're going to start things off with this fantastic piece of news that's just come out today, which is IOHK announces successful hard fork of Cardano's Alonzo testnet to Alonzo White node. So this is huge news, guys, because this means that we are getting ever so closer to smart contracts finally rolling out onto the mainnet. So as we go through the three colors of Alonzo and reaching this white node version of the Alonzo basically means that we are heading very, very close now to reaching smart contract functionality. So let's get into what's going on here. So obviously the driving force behind the decentralized and smart contract platform Cardano, Input Output Global, has announced a successful hard fork of the Alonzo testnet. The Alonzo testnet has now been forked into the new Alonzo White node. IOG revealed the success of the Alonzo testnet hard fork on the 14th of July. So this was just yesterday. So according to a tweet by IOG, the hard fork was completed at about 1944 UTC last night. In addition, the company, IOG, added that the new network is already making blocks. IOG, the team, has been working on a successful hard fork of the testnet as the network moves nearer to that smart contract functionality. Here's the quote from the guys over at IOG. We'll monitor the new network closely over the next 24 hours while continuing to do further QA work on the node tonight. We'll then review any feedback results tomorrow and start addressing any required fixes. We expect a number of updates as we add features to Alonzo White. So this is fantastic. Obviously, we're kind of going through the stages and all of these development pieces as needed and on schedule. So everything still looks to be going ahead, and we'll get into what's going on later. But with Cardano's Alonzo onto the mainnet, but it looks like we're heading there pretty smoothly. So when IOG announced the Alonzo rollout earlier, the team said it was unveiling would consist of a series of color-coded testnets. IOG has previously launched the first alpha testnet, Alonzo Blue, which went live on the 27th of May. Alonzo Blue was initially supported by a small group of SPOs, and this is the stake pool operators, partners, and obviously the Plutus pioneers. Now, obviously, moving on, IOG, the Alonzo White goes live after a successful hard fork. So the second phase, Alonzo White, will allow stake pool operators and pioneers to participate in this stage. In addition, the Alonzo White phase will onboard about 500 members of the Cardano community. Blockchain technology company Emurgo referred to the hard fork saying the following. With the Alonzo hard fork coming up on the road towards the 𝗗𝗀𝗀𝗃 era, developers will be able to start trying out decentralized applications in a testnet and ready Cardano's network for the mainnet launch of smart contracts. So really good stuff going on. Now, I'll just finish this off before going on to the next fantastic piece, but the testnet will be public after Alonzo White rolls into Alonzo Purple, which is the next phase. Basically, Alonzo Purple will launch in August and will feature the first testnet that will be fully public and will allow the participation of all pioneers. So the success of the Alonzo project will result in the development of new dApps, including decentralized finance applications. As such, Cardano will be able to compete with other decentralized finance platforms, including Binance, Ethereum, Polkadot, and many other notable platforms as well. So Cardano founder Charles Hoskinson is optimistic that the successful launch of Alonzo testnet will fuel an increase in value of ADA. At the time of writing this particular article, ADA is trading at about 123. I think we've actually got it at 122.9 right now. And so the price of Cardano's native token has declined by about 3% in the last 24 hours. Currently the fifth largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization. and I think it's got a rough evaluation of about $40 billion. So it's done very, very well. But ultimately, there's so much potential for Cardano, obviously everything that it is doing, but obviously the price of ADA is going to obviously reflect some of these fantastic things that are happening in the space as well. Now, we're going to get into the technical analysis at the end of this video, so do stick around for that. The next thing that I want to talk about is this fantastic piece of news just here, which is about Rwanda-based NGO partners with Cardano Foundation to launch ADA crypto charity platform. And again, this is just another fantastic use case for Cardano. So Save the Children in Rwanda recently became the latest member of NGO community to endorse cryptocurrencies after it announced the establishment of a partnership agreement with the Cardano Foundation. So according to the statement released by parties of the project, this particular arrangement became possible after Cardano installed a payment gateway that allows ADA donations to come directly to the project without any intermediaries. So once received, the funds will be able to be invested in African-based social enterprises with a proven impact on children's families and, of course, the youth. So this is fantastic. Already 22,000 ADA worth nearly $30,000 has been donated through the system. And I just thought this was a fantastic, good use case for Cardano, for ADA, and I think it is worth just bringing out to everyone's attention as well that there's some fantastic things happening here on the Cardano ecosystem, some fantastic partnerships going on with the Cardano Foundation, and these use cases are absolutely brilliant. So really thought that was worth kind of bringing out. Obviously that alongside everything that's going on with the Alonzo testnet, the Alonzo white node, and of course moving ever so closer to that smart contract functionality. All of this stuff will have a huge impact, and of course the Cardano price, or the ADA price. So let's get into a little bit of technical analysis to see what's been going on most recently and where my expectations still are for Cardano and the price expectation of ADA. Here we are on the Cardano to USDT pair. We're on the weekly chart with Binance being the data source. Now, obviously, we are looking ahead to that fifth wave. And wave one started down here, the crash of March 2020. Of course, that's the lowest possible point for many of these cryptocurrencies. There was never anything lower than this. So we know that's where the start of wave one kicked off. Obviously, wave two came in just after we kind of topped out in July, August time for many of those cryptocurrencies. Pulled down into wave two, the correction wave, which was quite flat. This ended at around September time for Cardano. Then that obviously kick-started wave three around towards the end of the year, like November, December time. And obviously wave three most recently peaked out up in May of 2021, and we've had a very sharp correction so far in wave four. And this sharp correction for wave four is because we had a flat wave two. They always counter each other. If wave two was sharp, wave four would have been flat, and so forth, right? So right now, this wave four would stereotypically, or would normally be, about a 40% move of whatever you actually had on wave three. So if wave three was, let's say, I don't know, 1,000%, then ultimately you would lose 40% of that during that fourth wave correction. That's the stereotypical way you would look at it. Of course, we can quite visually see here that wave four hasn't even gone anywhere near that kind of level for Cardano. It's been a very tame wave four. It could have been a lot worse. So we obviously have to be mindful that we could be seeing a little bit more of a dip on the Cardano front. I do not think this is actually something that we are going to see, but we have to obviously acknowledge the fact that it is possible. So obviously on this chart here, we have several levels kind of mapped out on this weekly. We obviously have the rock bottom, the limit of what a wave four could ever do before completely invalidating the 5 impulse waves to the upside. And that would obviously come down at 16 cents. Incredibly unlikely. Most likely will never happen. Go a little bit higher than this, we get to about 40 cents. Now this 40 cent area is something that would be a little bit overextended from the stereotypical 40% move of a wave 4, so it would be possible, but very unlikely. We go a little bit higher and we have the most likely scenario. If we were to have a dip lower than $1, it's going to go down to about 80 cents. This seems to be the most logical space where Cardano will find very strong support if we were to drop down. Of course, I'm saying this as if we were going to drop down. It's very unlikely that we are, and I'm going to show you why this is. So obviously, knowing all these various different support levels and resistance levels are incredibly useful, but we also have to use several other indicators to help us understand what is going on in the space. So the first thing we're going to pull up here is going to be that stochastic relative strength index. Now the stochastic is very sensitive to price movements, more so than the normal relative strength index. Ultimately, the stochastic should be used when you're going sideways and not really utilized when you're going in a trend. So during wave 3, we would not have used the stochastic relative strength index because it would not have given us a very good representation of what was going on. Instead, during the bottoming of wave 2 and where wave 3 really kicked off, that would have been a fantastic point to actually start using the stochastic. And likewise, where we are right now, where we are kind of going sideways between two key levels, this is where the stochastic really helps us understand what's been going on. So when we take a look at it from this weekly point of view, there's a few things that we can obviously glaringly see right in front of us. One is obviously we are at 2.4 on the stochastic rating level. This is an interesting level because this particular area of the stochastic RSI is where we were back when we were at the bottom of wave 2, okay? And equally, the same place where we were at the bottom of the crash during March of 2020, before we started to see these significant runs in value for ADA. So being down at the bottom here, guys, is obviously really only one place that this stochastic relative strength index can go, and that is to the upside. There's a little bit more room to the downside, but there isn't a huge amount to slip down into. Obviously, it kind of bottoms out at 0. So at 2.4, there isn't a lot of room to fall down. Therefore, as a trading point right now at $1.22.9, where do you think we are likely to fall down to? It's not going to be potentially any lower than $1. That seems to be a pretty sensible level before this weekly stochastic RSI reaches 0. So right now, that's obviously a pretty positive sign to say the worst of this actually seems to be past us, which means ultimately a lot of the stuff that we're seeing in the space, a lot of the FUD talking about Bitcoin going to all these various different levels, ultimately a lot of these stochastic relative strength indexes on the weekly chart are showing us the same kind of levels. They're saying we've reached the bottom and there's very little room left to go down any further. So first of all, if you want to actually go lower in price, which is very possible, you actually first of all have to push the price up in order to push this relative strength index up on the stochastic before going down lower again. So again, it's possible that you can push the price up just a little way before pushing down even lower. So we always like to be mindful of what's going on here, but in the short term and the long term, we obviously have some pretty interesting things going on. We obviously know that we have to push the price up both in the short term, and we are expecting to push the price up in the long term. We also have the relative strength index from the stochastic point of view working for us in our favor. Now, the only thing that isn't working for us at the moment is the sheer amount of fear in the space. We have got, of course, the advice.io dashboard in front of us here, and we can see the Cardano ADA Fear and Greed Index. Different to that of the generalized fear and greed index, although this is showing that there is extreme fear in the Cardano space right now. And I think a lot of this comes down to so many pieces of news out there at the moment saying that everything seems to be on the way down. We're going into a bear market. There's so many influencers out there saying that we're going into a multi-year sideways trade. And again, I just have to reiterate, we take a look at the data, we take a look at these indicators, and we see where we are. On these indicators, it's not likely that we're going to trade sideways for a very long time. We've already reached a very low area on that stochastic RSI, which means that we are more than likely actually going to be pushing the price up. So ultimately, we seem to be in that last shakeout phase before potentially pushing the price up, even if it is just a short-term push to the upside before another correction coming in. So we have to be mindful, obviously, that the artificial intelligence over at EVI is picking up on this extreme fear in the space. We obviously have got issues with those moving averages, and of course all of this combined together does give us an issue with those returns, the risk to rewards, right? So we can see that we've got a D rating there. The peak end value demand though is still withholding very well at a B2 rating, as is the return on investment being an A1 rating. Liquidity is also an issue at a rating of D. So overall, there's lots of things here for Cardano that are concerning, but it's important that we do obviously acknowledge where we are going, what we are seeing in terms of the price movement of ADA, the support that we're holding strongly on, and of course the stochastic relative strength index. It's also worth pointing out where we are on our relative strength index as well, which is less sensitive to price movements. Here we can see that on this weekly chart there is more room to fall down. Obviously, I do not think this is something that we're going to see, because if we take a look where we were during this second wave, it's right where we are right now. We are basically right back where we were at the previous correction wave bottoming. So right now, this is looking pretty good from not only the stochastic relative strength index, but also the relative strength index in itself. It seems to be getting itself gearing up, ready to have some pretty good moves to the upside. Of course, there is more room to the downside right now on this weekly RSI than there is on the stochastic RSI. Again, the stochastic is more sensitive to pricing, so when we're moving sideways, it's the one that you want to rely on the most. And with this being said, this is obviously the weekly chart, and we have got that fifth impulse wave to the upside, which I have actually placed up there at $10. And again, once we start seeing all of these dApps get built, all of these decentralized or finance applications as well, be that Meld or any of these other launch pads launching as well on the Cardano ecosystem, couple that with the people that or the businesses migrating from the Cardano or from Ethereum over to Cardano's ecosystem, all of these things are fundamental shifts that are outside of this technical data at the moment, and that shift could have a significant impact on price. We are talking about the world's most decentralized network, which means there's a lot of people actually delegating and staking their ADA, which means it's not in circulating supply. So when that FOMO does kick in and we start seeing market share from Ethereum shift over to Cardano and new dApps getting built on Cardano, and that FOMO where people are trying to purchase ADA to use those decentralized applications or just to use it as an investment vehicle, there's going to be a shortage of supply, and that is going to seriously help push price discovery for ADA. So the technicals at the moment are suggesting about $7.20 kind of top level during the next wave to the upside. I think we have a pretty good strong chance at $10, but we have to be mindful that some of these fundamentals that are outside of the technicals could actually go ahead and push the price of ADA significantly higher. We could potentially see $15, $20 Cardano ADA tokens or ADA coins, and it potentially could be very, very easy for Cardano to do this. It does not require a lot of money to come in to push the price that high, considering how much of the circulating supply is actually being delegated and staked right now. Common to popular belief, ultimately, the market capitalization is not the amount of money that is in a project. Instead, the market capitalization is a simple equation of the price multiplied by circulating supply. So it's important to know that you could never liquidate a cryptocurrency instantaneously and all that money would just be paid out. It just doesn't work that way. Every time you actually interact with a token, you are adjusting the price altogether. And that liquidity isn't exactly the market cap. It's a much, much lower than that. So to put this into context, it would not necessarily take that many more billions of dollars to actually push the price of ADA to these significant high levels, considering all of these factors. So guys, I'm not going to go into any more of the shorter term stuff. I really want to keep this top level, understand where we're going, understand the things that are happening in the space and the fantastic news that's been going on here for Cardano regarding smart contracts and Alonzo. Guys, if you found this useful and informative, then do go ahead and hit that like button. I really appreciate it. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the bell, tap on all notifications, and you won't miss another video. Guys, with this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.